So you're thinking about coming to the Philippines? Well, stay tuned and I'll tell you everything you need to know to plan for your trip. Hello. Welcome back to my channel, Mr. Wright in the Philippines. Thank you so much for watching and for being here. Little housekeeping before we get started. Today's topic, by the way, is everything you need to know to plan for your trip to the Philippines. But a little housekeeping first. If you find some value in this, please like this, share the video with your family, friends. Leave a comment. I do read the comments and I do try to respond to as many as possible, but make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you get notified when new videos are uploaded. So without further ado, let's go. So the very first thing when you are planning your trip, okay, first of all, you need to start planning this a few months out, at least 2 months out, because you're going to want to book your flight at least 30 days out. Depending on the time of the year, prices can be all over the place. I've paid almost $3,000 to come at some during Christmas time, and during the spring it was only $1,100. So make sure you start early. But planning your itinerary is probably the most important thing. But what I recommend is that you align your itinerary and the places that you want to visit with your own interest. You know, if you can be here, you need to at least be here at least 2 weeks and try to see multiple cities, multiple places, because there's a ton of things to do here. There's over 7,600 islands and there is something for everyone. But so sit down and make a list of your things that you like to do, your interests, things like that, and give yourself enough time to plan everything. So for example, you know, if you're into scuba diving and boating and snorkeling and fishing, things like that, you're going to want to visit places like Puerto Galera, maybe Bohol, Siquijor, things like that. If you want to come and you want to party, you want the nightlife, then you want to be near Makati, BGC, Angeles City, Cebu. If you just want a nice, quiet, relaxing vacation getaway, you want to go to Davao. You know, this is where I live. It's a perfect place for a family, but you know, your jumping points are far and few in between. So you have plenty of options to do whatever it is that you want to do. So sit down and make a list of your interests, things that you want to do, and then do some research. Google is a great tool. Facebook groups, I'm a member of several Facebook groups where you can go in and ask questions, but I would Google. There's a lot of, that's what I did, and watch YouTube videos. There's a lot of information out there that's available that makes it easy for you. Just so you know, you don't need a visa to come to Philippines. Again, from the US, you have to check your own country, but they're very friendly, very liberal here when it comes to visas. But you get 30 days visa on arrival when you get here. No visa requirements or anything like that for the first 30 days. So that should set you pretty good. There's also no COVID requirements. You don't need a negative test anymore. You don't need a vaccine. They don't even ask you anymore. So it's not even on the questionnaire. So that's good to know now. That is a big change. But speaking of the questionnaire, you do need to register on their site called eTravel, and I'll put a link to that below in the description. It takes you a minute or two to fill it out. It's basically your information, your name, your passport information, your flight information, where you're going to stay, how long you're going to be there, things like that. And it basically just lets the Philippine government know that you're going to be here. And that's pretty much it. It takes, again, just a couple of minutes to do. Now, what will happen is they will email you a QR code. So you want to take a screenshot of that, just in case. So sometimes when I've come, the immigration wanted to see it, and then the last time I came, they didn't need it. They said it was already in their system. So I would take a screenshot and save that on your phone, because you may not have Wi-Fi in the airport when you first get here. So you want to be able to have that readily available for the immigration officer. So where to stay? I've done both. Now, hold that thought. We'll go back to the flight. I came from Miami, so I experimented with a number of different things. I experimented flights going west that went through Los Angeles and San Francisco, and I experimented with flights that went east through New York. What I did was I found a little travel tip though. You know, some flights have one layover, some have two, some have three. I recommend two for me. I have bad knees, and the flight is very long. It's going to take you 2 days to get there. Well, from Miami anyway, but it won't be much shorter if you're going from the West Coast even. So what I did, I found that one layover was not enough to break up those two really long legs being on an airplane. Unless you're flying first class and you can afford that and you can sleep, good for you. That's awesome. I could not. So I spent a lot of time walking around the airplane. But the plane is fine. There's plenty of leg room. They're very comfortable. There's lots of movies. There's food. You can walk around and meet other people. You almost forget that you're flying even. But what I did, the little travel tip is I looked for places that I had not been to that I wanted to visit that had long layovers, long enough that I could leave the airport. So, for example, like I said, I've been to Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, but I also went to Tokyo, Taiwan, Paris, Amsterdam, Abu Dhabi, and Dubai. And in all of those places, I was able to leave the airport, explore the city for a couple of hours, and I looked at it as a free vacation. I was able to take lots of pictures. I had some memories, got to know the people, the cultures, things like that. But yeah, it was a free vacation for me. So I highly recommend doing something like that if you can. It didn't cost me anything extra other than whatever food or drinks that I had or any souvenirs. But you would have spent that in the airport anyway, probably more, because most of those countries, the economies are very reasonably priced and inexpensive. So look for flights that do that. That was something I thought was really, really, really cool. Spending a day in Amsterdam, during Christmas time was pretty amazing, and I really liked it. So back to what I was going to say is where to stay. I did both. I've stayed in Airbnb and I've stayed in hotels. So I would, again, recommend that you research, do your own homework. I prefer the Airbnb, especially if you're going to be here for a few weeks. Hotels are a little bit more expensive than Airbnb, and again, depending on where you stay. But once they add in all the taxes and all the other bullshit fees, it ends up getting pretty expensive, especially if you're going to be here for a few weeks. Whereas Airbnb, you don't have any of those things. Plus, it feels more like home. You don't feel like you're in a hotel room. They have kitchens, they have dishes, pots and pans. So if you're going to be here for a few weeks, you can buy food, keep it in the refrigerator, you can cook. But it just felt better to me. And you can also negotiate directly with the owners. And I did that too. I messaged a few. I offered to maybe pay cash when I got there. So it saves them the fees on Airbnb. They give me a little discounted rate, and it works. So try both options. Again, for me personally, I preferred the Airbnb. One of the other things is when you get here, no matter where you're going to end up, you're going to probably land in Manila first. And I mentioned in one of my other videos, make sure if you're connecting to another flight, what terminal you're landing in, which is determined by the airline, and where you're leaving from. In Manila, there's 4 different terminals, and it's almost like 4 completely separate airports. You're going to have to get your bags, and you're going to have to take a taxi to the other terminal, and then go through security and check your bags again when you get there. So you need to give yourself a couple of hours at least to be able to make that transition of that transfer. And I was not prepared one time, and I got lucky. My flight was delayed. Otherwise, I would have been late. But it's one of the only airports I've ever seen in the world that has 4 completely separate terminals, all considered under the same airport. So you definitely want to check that out, though. Make sure. All you have to do is Google your airline and just say which terminal does ELN or Japan Japan Air, where do they land? And Google will tell you. So that's pretty cool there. The other thing too is make sure you bring cash. I would not. You can exchange it. I would not exchange it in the U.S. Exchange it when you get to the airport of Manila. The exchange rates are much better. For example, the going exchange rate when I came the very first time was, I believe, 52 or 53 pesos for the dollar. And at the airport in Los Angeles, they only gave me 42. Here in Manila, right now it's $56 pesos for a dollar. So do it right there. Bring yourself a couple $100. Make sure you have cash. That's one of the things that's really interesting here in the Philippines, and there is no consistency. So cash is king. A lot of places don't take credit cards. And I was really amazed. I mean, I went to McDonald's one time. I went to Jollibee's. I went to 7-Eleven, and none of them took credit card. And I didn't happen to have cash on me at the time. So be prepared for that. Taxis. You're going to need to take taxis or tricycle everywhere. And most of them don't take credit cards either. So you want to make sure you have some cash on you. A couple $100 I would recommend. The other thing that I would recommend, highly, highly, highly recommend, one of the best things I ever did was get a Wise card, a Wise debit card. And I'll put a link to that down in the description as well. It is, the first time I came here, I didn't know. So I was using my credit card everywhere I went. You know, I'd go out for dinner, clubs, things like that. And I got killed by the transaction fees, the international transaction fees that your credit card company is going to charge you. With Wise, it's a debit card, but it's linked to your bank account. And so no matter where I am in the world, I can simply transfer money from my bank account onto my debit card and use it anywhere in the world. And I think for like $500, I paid 40 cents for the transfer fee. For $1,000, it's like 90 cents. And then you don't pay any transaction fees, international transaction fees, where you use it anywhere in the world. And that was really, really cool. You can use it in the ATM. You can take money out. Of course, you have to pay the ATM fee, but that's not Wise. They're not charging you. But it was probably the best thing I've done. And I used that card everywhere. Well, everywhere they accept credit cards. So again, another wise adventure, a wise suggestion. I would, no pun intended, I would highly recommend. One of the other good things is that they speak English here. Almost everybody here speaks English. Now, your taxi drivers, things like that, they're not going to speak any English, maybe very little. So be prepared for that. But I would recommend, learn a couple of Tagalog words. Not a whole lot, but the basics. Salamat means, thank you. Kuya, ati. Kuya means brother, and that's a form of respect. If you're talking to another man, you say, kuya. Ati means aunt, technically, but you would use that if you're, talking to another female. But sir and ma'am. You're going to find everybody here is going to say yes sir, yes ma'am, no sir, no ma'am to you, and it's appropriate to say the same thing back. But I would recommend learn a few words. Learn just the basics. Kumasta, how are you? Like I said, salamat is thank you, and just the basics. They will appreciate the effort. They'll probably giggle with the first time you try to do it because you won't pronounce it right. But they really, really are very friendly, and they will very much appreciate the effort. Speaking of friendlies, they're very accepting of foreigners. You will notice that from the minute you land in the airport. Everybody there, even the security guards, the check-in people, everybody there is offering help. Everybody there is so friendly. And they just really, really are just grateful, humble, and caring, friendly people in general. Once you get here, one of the things to notice is this is not a tipping society. So it's not customary to tip if you go to dinner or drinks or anything like that. And in fact, the locals will frown on it because the locals, when you leave, the locals can't afford to tip. So it really kind of puts them in a bad. So they would really prefer that you don't tip. So just something to be prepared for, something that I wasn't ready for. I didn't know because I come from the U.S. and it's a highly tipping society. The other thing too is don't point. Here, in the Philippines, pointing is considered very rude. So if you want to point something out to somebody, they use the full hand gesture. They'll say over there or over here, or they may point with their lips. That's a famous Philippine thing. But again, being from Miami, Latinos did that as well. But just don't point. It's just something to. They're not going. Nobody again. They are so friendly here. Nobody is going to care. But it is just something. A sign of respect. They're very. They don't do confrontation. They don't do conflict here. So no matter what you do, they're going to give you a smile. They're going to be friendly. They're not going to initiate any kind of conflict, anything like that. The other thing that I was really surprised the first time I came here, and again, my job here is to educate you, so you're prepared when you get here. But the poverty, you're going to notice it as soon as you leave the airport. You're going to see. Now, I never really saw homeless people sleeping in the street. But you're going to see the trash, you're going to see the garbage, you're going to see, the little shanties and the people's homes. It's heart-wrenching the first time you see it. But then once you meet the people, you forget all about that. You are, again, they are just so friendly and humble, and it doesn't matter. If they have nothing, they are still happy, and they are still willing to give you whatever they have. It's just part of their society, and in many ways, they're wealthier than we are back in the U.S. It's just something that is really, really, really heartwarming. So on that note, my final bit of advice would be, make sure you pack your patience when you come here. This is a very different world here. They're not in a hurry to do anything or go anywhere. People are just, enjoying their life. They're taking their time. You're going to wait in line. You're going to wait for things. So just make sure you pack your patience, and be friendly, be polite, be humble. Don't be that arrogant, obnoxious American if you're coming from the U.S. Don't be loud and boisterous. You're not going to see any of that here. Yes, they love to party, they love to dance, they love to sing, but you're not going to see excuse me, you're not going to see a loud drunk person being obnoxious, picking fights. You'll see it, but you won't see it from the Filipinos. It's usually going to be some obnoxious American. But be polite, be respectful. Remember that you're a guest in their country. We're guests here. And respect their culture, respect their traditions, their way of doing things. And please try to avoid saying, well, in my country, this is how we do it. It doesn't matter. You're not in your country, and they won't care. They're going to smile and be polite, but it's not going to change anything. It's just rude on your part. Just respect their culture, respect the way they do things here, and you will fall in love with the people and the culture, just like I did. So again, that's it for today. Please, if you have more questions, I know this is probably not an all-encompassing list. I couldn't fit everything in here, but please feel free to ask questions. I'll do the best I can to answer as many as I can. But remember, if you found value, like this video, share it. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. And until next time, peace.